All right, guys, we have an economic update with Anthony Smith and our own Kaylee Nix coming up for you right now.
Tell us, are you surprised about your economic update for the day? What are the numbers showing?
I am a little bit surprised. So quick recap from before the previous segment. We just talked about retail sales, and we had someone on the comments, Mahogany Mathis, saying that spending is definitely up on the consumer end regardless of the pandemic, and I think she's spot on with that one. We've seen spending really through the roof throughout the pandemic, and it's only going to continue to persist. And so that's a little bit surprising to see how much of that's going to carry over and put additional strain as consumers feel that much more confident. And as Andrew mentioned earlier, they're flush with savings. Some of the surprise that does come through is from this chart here, or not exactly this chart, but this update that we just got. So this got updated just 15 minutes ago from the Federal Reserve industrial production, and we saw that there was a 0.7 increase for overall industrial production. So that's going to be a little bit more tangible. I know early on in the week we talked about the ISM PMI. That's going to be a little bit more survey-based data. It's a diffusion index. Some people don't put as much credence into it. I love it, but not a lot of people look at it as one of those things that's tangible data. This is actual tangible data. And so I was a little bit surprised to see an increase here, just despite all the headwinds that are impacting manufacturing. When you're looking at those prices for the commodities, limited employment, and some of the backlogs that's going on right now.
Well, and so now that we're seeing that increase in industrial production, we're also seeing the map that we're talking about right behind us right now, the flatbed, outbound tender rejects. There's no people to haul all this industry that's coming out, right?
That's right. So we're needing more drivers. That's always a need.
Always the case.
Always the case. And of course, I think we had a really good conversation not too long ago with Michael Vincent talking about how retention is also a big factor, and there's a lot of turnover. So we're facing some of those drivers not really being able to enter the workforce, of course, with those shutdowns for driver schools, and also with all those retention issues. So looking at that, that's going to put a lot more strain on the industrial sector. On top of that, we were just talking about how some of those prices really impacting the upstream manufacturers and those producers are going to have an impact downstream. So I know we were chatting about that earlier this week, and we are seeing that now, especially with the producer price index, and it's starting to make its way to the consumer.
And so we're talking a lot about prices. Let's talk about the I word that no one wants to hear, inflation.
That's right.
What are you seeing? Where's it going?
I love it. So we're talking about, I don't love inflation, but I love talking about inflation, and it's happening right now, but we're seeing it definitely on the upstream side, on the commodities. We're seeing it, of course, with lumber. I don't think that's too much of a surprise. All over the headlines, we're seeing it on semiconductors for sure, and that's really starting to make an impact. We were really seeing that this convenient chart behind me for Sonar. Thank you, Cody. We're seeing it right behind me. We see the producer price index for all commodities in addition to the ISM price index. And so we're seeing that upward movement on both sides. Again, ISM, not tangible data, survey data, but this producer price index is tangible data. So this shows that there is some credence behind it.
Looks like we're climbing Mount Everest as we're heading into the summer months, the highest that it's ever been as far as our data records go, right?
That is, so nearing that, and we're just nearing the peak for the price index. So we're just within 1 percentage point of that price index for the ISM. So there's a lot of implications for this, for these increases, and we're going to be sure to keep monitoring this as those price increases make its way further downstream. And that's really going to be one of the biggest impacts. But that's going to do it for this section of the Shipper Update.